Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast Modern Couples, What Your Therapist Never Told You. My name is Rick Miller.
I'm Lillian Borges.
And we are both therapists who love working with couples. Today we've got a doozy, kids stuck in the middle.
Pretty often, couples put kids in the middle of their relationship for several reasons. So I think that talking today about this is very important.
It's a juicy one. I've been thinking about it, and when I think about it, it's just something that many couples come in and talk about, and it's frequent, which is a tough thing for a kid.
So do you see a lot of gay couples that has kids? Or what do you see in your practice?
I see a mix of couples. I see a few gay couples that have kids, but I also see a lot of heterosexual couples that have kids who they rely on the kids to take care of their own individual needs. Danger, danger, danger.
Adults that come to my office having relationship problems in their childhood or in their history, they've seen the mother and the father having betrayal in their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty often, I've heard them saying, my mom was following my dad around, trying to catch him with a lover, and I was in the car, and the whole time my mom or my dad saying how horrible it is, I should never trust man, that this is what is going to happen, that I should always be alert and protect myself. And sometimes the mother will catch the father and then start yelling at them, saying, see, what is the model that you give to your daughter? And they grow up. And surprise, surprise, they can't trust their partner. They have a hard time really lowering the walls and letting people in and love and be loved.
And I would also add another possibility to that, which is that sometimes when kids are so busy being attuned to the trauma and the chaos that's happening around them in their household, they don't grow up with a healthy sense of who they are in the world because they're so externally focused. So ideally, a kid grows up in a family where they get a lot of attention, a lot of nourishment, a lot of affirmation for who they are. And I would say that the example that you're giving, that poor girl, if assuming that it was a girl, didn't get that and was probably too attuned outside of herself and may have grown up not knowing how to take care of herself.
Sometimes are girls, sometimes are boys.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It's the same result.
That's right.
And what you're saying is parents need to be able to take care of their own feelings.
Correct.
Because if they use the child to take care of their feelings, then that is going to be problematic.
Yes.
Whether there is a betrayal or not. But if I use my child to be my confidant, to be the person that I tell all my secrets, and regardless of the secrets are, anything that goes beyond the child's capacity to absorb and comprehend and be responsible for, you are putting that person in the middle.
Yes. I have a couple I work with. One in particular, one of the parents does it, and he confides in the kid and kind of splits himself and the kid against the mother. And as you can imagine, that's a pretty active theme in the couples work, that you as the couple ideally need to be the united front. You make the decisions. You represent a sturdy connection for the child, for the adolescent. And it's not me and you go against the other parent. It's we, as both parents, members of this couple, present with a consistent message, a consistent idea of discipline, and we don't trash each other to the child to contaminate what the child sees about either of us.
And I think it's so important what you're saying, being united in a front with the child, because sometimes couples don't agree in how to raise and how to discipline the child. So sometimes one partner thinks that the other one is too strict. The other one thinks that it's too laissez-faire,
Yeah.
it can do whatever. And then they put themselves against each other.
Yes. Yep.
So if a parent says, no, you can't do that, and started to discipline, the other comes to save the child.
Mhm.
And that is, again, putting the child in the middle, not giving a unified front, and desauthorizing one parent is not good for the child.
And isn't this a great reason for someone to go into couples therapy, to work on their differences in parenting styles and to hash it out and to explore the families that you've come from and what was your own parenting like and how does that inform what you do now? And some people do the opposite of what they were raised with and they're overcompensating. Some people
Yes.
replicate what they grew up with. But I really appreciate in my office working with the couples who are willing to embrace their differences and find a common ground around parenting. That said, a lot of people like to stay fixated on their being right and blame their partners.
Yes. I spend a lot of time with my couples talking about having a common ground.
Mm-hmm.
How to support your partner when they are having a hard time
Mm-hmm.
with a child who has special needs or not obeying, or how to help your partner to be the best version and not go against it, not go against the parent, because that would not be helpful for the child, for anybody, or, also for the relationship.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of one of the couples that I worked with who I really admire, and they're really tight with each other, both members of the couple, about what's happening with their kid. And one day the father said, I need your help right now, relying on the other parent. And instead of being angry at the other parent, he asked for help and he got the help that he needed. And they aligned with themselves to take care of the daughter, which was perfect.
Exactly. So it's how to help the partner to be the best version by feeling the support for the partner who is upset, feeling that they are a united front, feeling that they can do and take care of this together.
Yeah.
And it's basically how to calm yourself down by the co-regulation in the relationship.
Yeah.
By being there with each other, feeling that your partner has your back, relying on the values that you have in a relationship, who you want your child and your family to be, all based on the conversations that you have. But sometimes we don't talk about it.
No, and you're making it sound so easy, which I love, because couples need to be reminded of, you want to function well with your partner as co-parents. And instead of being on different ends, you want to come from the same place. And there's a little bit of surrender, a lot of compromise, and doing things differently from how you'd want to do it as an individual. But that's what successful parenting is about from a couple.
Yes. And I think that also a reflection of where you're coming from as a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your roots? What are your messages that you received from your family? What do you want to keep and what do you want to get rid of?
Yeah.
Because your partner is having their own messages, their own history, their own values that they bring and things that they want to get rid of. And sometimes not able to without the help from the partner.
And I'm curious, when you were a kid, what was your model of parenting? Were you in the middle? Were you a caregiver to your parents? Were you protected?
Well, I'm the oldest child. And sometimes, not often, but sometimes I was put in a place where my mom would complain about one of my siblings, and I was the one that would be the reinforcer.
Oh, okay. How about your father? Would your mother complain about your father?
Never.
Oh, good. So she knew.
She knew that my dad was having affairs, but she never said that. So that was a secret, and that was never spoken. And so I never understood why my mom was so angry all the time.
Yeah.
Now I completely...
Right. Now it all makes sense.
all makes sense. That affected our relationship, my relationship with my mom.
Of course. So here's a difficult question. Would it have been better for you to have had your mother tell you what was going on when you were younger? Or was it better for you to be protected?
That is an interesting question. If it is good to tell the child, and what is a appropriate age?
Right.
I think that is how much the issues are. Telling a younger child is never a good thing.
Correct.
Unless they find out, then
Mhm.
you have to help them to understand and digest that.
Yeah.
But if they didn't, and if you're doing that out of spite and putting them in the middle, I
Mhm.
said never.
Yep.
Don't ever do that.
Yes.
But if you feel that that is necessary for several reasons, do it in an age that they can absorb,
Yep.
probably when they're more adult,
Yes.
and they can understand some of their own patterns and how the family dynamics had affected them as adults and their relationships.
Yeah. And thank you for being candid about this. I mean, obviously, I put you on the spot. And
You did.
right, I did. When
Was not very comfortable, but you did. But that's all right.
But you handled it great. And you gave a sad example of something that happens a lot in families. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a really, really delicate issue. And when I think about putting kids in the middle, very different reasons and different moments where parents do this. And this is a painful, vulnerable issue, obviously, parents having an affair. But then there are more casual moments where a parent complains about the other parent to the child, and they don't think it's a big deal because they're doing it in passing and they're just complaining. But you really have to consider, what are the ramifications of that? What is the message that you're giving to a kid about how relationships function? You're pulling the kid into your camp as a result.
And why don't you talk to your partner about
Well,
it?
exactly.
Why you're complaining, right, to your child
Or complain to your friends.
who needs both parents.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
They do need both parents.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So healthy trees need good roots.
Yeah.
So if you're doing this and you're poisoning your child against the other parent, that's not good for the child. Right. And again, you're the parent, you're the protector of the child. You need to do what is good for the child.
Absolutely.
And if you're talking bad things about your partner,
you're about to say it.
I'm about to say it. I didn't. Then you are not thinking for the good of the child, and you're thinking about your own feelings.
Yes. When I was a kid, my parents wouldn't use me to promote their agenda with each other. Sometimes they would argue or disagree in my presence, and sometimes they would do it in another room, but I would scurry to hear what was going on. I loved it, which is probably why I became a therapist. I couldn't get enough of the gory details of what they were arguing about and what was happening. It was so juicy for me. So I probably would have benefited in a particular way if one of my parents confided in me just because I loved it. But I think it was better that I had to find it out on my own.
Well, I think that the child wants to know, is this safe, right? Why they're fighting. Because when the parents are fighting, it can be a little unsafe, right, for the child.
Right.
Not they feel unsafe physically but emotionally, what's happening. And I think that fighting, right, arguing, and then making it up in front of the child is fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. We are not perfect, but sometimes our partner gets in our nerves and we get frustrated and we get in conflict, but then we make it up.
Yes.
We say, I'm sorry, I snapped, I shouldn't, but I love you. And it's good for the child to see that.
So true. Yeah.
And so if you never see them fighting, if you never see them making it up, then you do not have the model to do that.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of clients like that. They never, ever saw their parents fight. And I'm like, really? Clearly, you did not grow up in a Jewish family like I did.
Exactly, right. So it is the model that you're giving to the
Yes.
child. What is the values? What is the family that you want to
Yeah.
have?
Yeah.
Or what do you want to teach your child? So having that in mind is important.
I had a client that had many traumas in his life when he was growing up. And one of the traumas was his father was an alcoholic and he'd go to the bar every night and get shit faced.
Oh,
And his mother would send him
girl.
to get the father.
Yes.
And,
I've heard that many
right.
times. That is very common, right?
It's so
Very
unfair. It's unfair to an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old. Why doesn't she either do it herself or let him be and deal with it later?
Or gambling,
Yes.
right? I had many examples of teenage kids who had to pay the bills, who had to take care of the household because the parents were, both of them,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
Gambling, they
Yep.
were doing other stuff. And someone needed to be the adult and take care of everything.
Mhm.
Otherwise, they couldn't go to school. They would not have light or water and electricity, right?
Frequently, people in their 20s end up in therapy when they begin to recognize what happened to them in their families. And one of the books that I used to have people read, I mean, this is 40 years ago, is Alice Miller, Drama of the Gifted Child. I don't know if you read that book.
Oh, no, I didn't grow up here, but I heard that.
Great book.
Uh-huh.
Because what it's about is that kids that are parentified by their parents, again, they grow up becoming caregivers and being attuned outside of themselves. And they don't really have a sense of themselves and know how to be kind of adult, functioning, independent people in the world.
And they grow up taking care of other people, not realizing their own needs. They're about their feelings. They grow up to be, very codependent in that sense.
Codependent, sometimes depressed
or anxious, right?
Yeah.
But what do you think that couples need to do to not put their kids in the middle?
Well, I love what you said earlier, and I don't remember the exact words, but the partner needs to be a reinforcer and a spokesperson and align with the other partner. That's the number one job. And to duke out on their own as a couple what the differences are, what the issues are around parenting, rather than doing it with the kids or in front of the kids. So communication.
Yes. Also, take care of your own emotions.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love it.
Imagine that. Talk to your friends, to your therapist, do your own therapy.
Yeah.
If you feel that you are pretty often venting about your partner in front of the kids, if you're fighting in front of your kids, it's another thing that we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
But yes, being an escalation, seeing the escalation and escalated fight in front of the kids is very threatening, very scary for kids, especially small kids.
Yeah. I mean, I love the idea of speak to your friends instead of your kid. Make some friends.
I say don't fight in front of your kids, like big fights, like escalating fights. It's okay to be upset and make up, but not have huge fights. Don't confide your problems to your kids.
Yep.
Don't keep complaining about your partner to your kids. Do not use your child to be your confidant.
Yes.
There's a lot of not to.
I know. Okay, so
don't do that.
So you do the not tos. Let me try the twos.
The twos, yes.
Find supports of your own to alleviate the stress. God, I feel put on the spot. This is hard. Speak to each other regularly about how things are going with parenting and be aligned to be a solid front with each other. Oh, I get thumbs up. And I think that's it for about do's as opposed to don'ts. But I think we covered it.
Yes, we did. And I liked it today. I liked the conversation.
Absolutely. Good topic. Yes. A really important one.
Yes, it is.
So that's it for today. Thanks for being here with us for The Modern Couples, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Take care.